Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our information session. We're hoping that all of you that are here, aside from obviously our alumni, but all of our prospective CityLAB SIR students, will find this very useful. We'll talk a bit more about like what we'll be doing, but for now, we're gonna start with a bit of a question. If you've heard this question before, just go along with it. So quick show of hands, well, virtual hands in this case, how many of you have ever complained about something in your city? So that may be policies in place, transit, housing, public space, climate change, accessibility, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to raise my physical hand because you can see me. Okay, so a couple of us, wonderful. And now, how many of you have actually been given a chance to design a solution to any of these problems or help with a solution to the problem? So I see our CityLAB folks have their hands raised. Yes. Okay. So essentially, that's what CityLAB is about. At its simplest, CityLAB is taking real problems that exist within the city of Hamilton and helping create solutions to these problems. So I'll hand it over to Mo.
Okay, we'll start with a quick round of introductions. I'm Monisha, and the person that just spoke is Joe. We also have our instructor, Randy. Hey, hey, Randy. And we have a couple of our alumni here. And today we're here to tell you a bit more about CityLAB semester in residence. So it is essentially a 15-unit interdisciplinary project-based course that is administered by McMaster's Office of Community Engagement for students in third year and above. So CityLAB runs full-time in the fall term, and it is fully based in downtown. So instead of learning about the city from afar, you get to do it with the city in the city. So essentially what happens is early on in the semester, city partners and City of Hamilton staff come in and pitch projects that they're actively working on. These projects could range from public health, smart commute, community benefits, youth empowerment, and so much more. And then you get to rank your favorite projects and work on it with an interdisciplinary team and produce deliverables that your city partners will use even after you leave the semester. Other than that, you also work on passion projects, meet a lot of guest speakers, go on fun little trips, and so much more. So we'll get to that shortly. Before that, I will leave it out there that if you already have questions, please feel free to drop them by in the Q&A section. We will have a designated period to go through it and answer all of your questions.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay.
So everything in CityLAB is structured around 4 core pillars, and the first one's dialogue.
So in dialogue, it's where you've probably heard of something called like active listening. So in dialogue, we talk more about something called mindful listening or mindful conversation. And this is really where we kind of shape how we conversate with, for example, the stakeholders that you might be speaking with. You might have weekly meetings with your city partner or even with the group that the problem that you're looking at affects. And so in building the type of language that you use and knowing the types of questions you use to not just help your research, but also to ensure that you are doing it in such a respectful way and that you're actually listening and not just being like, I'm here to help you. No, you're here to listen to the people who are affected by whatever you're doing. And so you also get to plan an event, something called the dialogue event, which we'll talk a bit about later on. But dialogue really sets you up to do well in that event, in planning the event and the execution of that event.
And the next one's design. Design is where you look into the urban planning aspect of the city. You get to ask questions on who is the city built for, who does it leave out, look more into the design of the city, how it's built, what's coming up, and all of that.
And then you have project management. So you're working on one project for 4 months every day. So there's bound to be a need for time management, for being able to plan like when each part of your project is due for CityLAB staff, so for instructors, but also for your city partner. You will have deadlines that your city partner will probably set for you in terms of what they're looking for and how that can help further your work. And so you'll also have to schedule meetings with your city partner and how it works with all of your teammates' busy schedules. But again, CityLAB really does set us up to do well in terms of managing all of the different parts and the different aspects, as well as taking into account the social life that you will probably have outside of CityLAB. And we'll also talk a bit more about scheduling later on.
And last but not least, it's city building. City building is what Randy teaches. And this is the most fun part, according to me. This is where you get to go on fun little trips and get to get out of the McMaster bubble and go to places from the waterfront to the waterfall. And you start seeing the city as something that you can learn from and collaborate to. This is where you also get to talk with a lot of guest speakers, go to the police service board, and a lot more.
Mo mentioned earlier that we do have a lot of guest speakers. City Building Randy specifically, does bring in a lot of amazing guest speakers that we can speak to. Think MPPs, think councilors, MPs, people that work for the news, yeah, news, was it CBC, I believe, and prosecutors. So you get to hear from some really cool people and the work that they do within the city, things that are currently affecting the city. So if you want to be even more involved, you can also email them. I believe one of our CityLAB alumni ended up doing a project with one of our city councilors. And then we also have something called a passion project, which is anything that you'd like to do, anything that you'd like to explore in whichever way, relating back though to the city, to community. Shameless plug, Mo and I and one of our wonderful alumni here, Alishba, actually started a Instagram page called Meet Me in Hamilton, and it was because we were so inspired by the work that we do with Randy, which is going on our field trips. We really, really loved exploring Hamilton. We hadn't done that. We were kind of stuck in the McMaster bubble. That's another thing CityLAB does, kind of take you out of the McMaster bubble and really lets you see Hamilton as a whole. And so we decided to explore different places and then also just to share it with amazing people so like you. So yeah, we have this. Please follow us. We post stuff. Yeah. And then some other really amazing projects that have happened. Someone one of our alumni made a music album, another one created a game completely centered around Hamilton and its policies and laws and whatnot. So it's actually really, really cool. You get to do anything you want. We had someone do short stories. She's actually here as well. It's Alina. But yeah, you'll also hear about another passion project later on.
Okay, so this is how a typical week at CityLab would look like. This is how our semester's schedule looked like. A warning that schedules tend to change because our instructors take in feedback from students and make sure it is well accommodated for student needs. So what happens is most of our classes are scheduled from 9 to 12, and after the afternoon, we have time to work on our projects or any other work that we might have. So we had questions about how would we manage part-time job or any other extracurriculars with CityLab semester in residence. One thing is the schedule is designed in a way to make sure that students are not overwhelmed and they have time outside of CityLab to live their life. So we've had alumni, even from our cohort, like a couple of students were doing thesis, working a part-time job, overloading, had other extracurriculars on their plate. But as long as you know your limits and manage your time well, it is very much doable. and then we'll move on to what do you get out of CityLAB?
So you get a couple things. So as I mentioned earlier, you do get event planning experience. If you like doing that sort of stuff, or if you've never done it before, you do get to plan, and not on your own. You do have a wonderful group that you'll be working with, and so all of you will be planning your dialogue event. So this is just where you can get some more information regarding, or more research rather. It's another form of research to help with your work and to help with the final report that you'll be writing up. And so this is where you get to either speak to stakeholders or people who are close to the people that are affected by the problem that you will be looking at. And then you also get a number of connections. It's a big networking thing as well. As we mentioned, the guest speakers that you will have those connections with via Randy. CityLAB, your city partner, is a very big one. You may not be interested in the work specifically that your city partner is doing, but they obviously know other people who are working in the city. They can be a good point of contact, especially if you do end up meeting with people in the city that may be, let's not say expert, but are somewhat, may somewhat have an expertise in the area that you're working on. And so you may like what they're doing. And so the connection can be made that way. And then just the CityLAB staff in general. So Rafaela, Zara, and Jay, they're the CityLAB staff that will be there in the building that you will be in. I believe it's twice a day. And so they're a good point of contact as well to keep you connected with CityLAB, the program on a whole, because SIR is just a small subset of CityLAB Hamilton.
As mentioned, you also get a lot of extensive research experience. This could vary from interviews, lit reviews, surveys, and even case studies. And the report that you write at the end will get published on our website. And the projects that you do have the potential to continue even after they're done. For example, Jill here, she did a project on networks of care, and in the fall and then in the winter, she was actually selected to be a supervisor for a course in McMaster called Sustain to Assist 3. And my group, on the other hand, we were hired again to do an event series in the summer. We did one 2 weeks ago. So your projects are built in a way that it has a form of continuation, that you can keep them in touch. Yes, next slide, please.
Oh, next. Sorry. Oh Lord. Lastly, friends. You get so many friends from CityLAB semester in residence. As you can see, these are just a couple of the photos that we have. Randy loves taking photos, so you'll have so many photos of yourself and of the group. And then if you like taking photos as well, there's an opportunity to do that. But with friends, you are with the same people for 4 months, 7 days a week, for at least 5 hours
5 days a
every
week.
day. So 5 days a week, not even four, 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, 4 months straight. Honestly, it is such a time. Like you're just bound to make a connection with anyone that's there. And so you'll just have a grand time, truly. And honestly, like Mo now, obviously I didn't know Mo beforehand. And so we started an Instagram page together. And so honestly, like I'm graduating and she's not, and it's like it's the worst thing ever. So that's not fun because I won't be in Hamilton and she will be. And that's just like it's sad when you have to leave CityLAB. Honestly, it really is sad because you won't be seeing the same people that you've gotten so used to and you've really built these connections with. Again, dialogue, as I said, it's not just about like active listening. We really kind of get into some harder topics and some heavier topics, and people can connect in that way as well. And so the CityLAB Sir like really does set you up to connect on a deeper level with people. So yeah. Okay, we'll continue. This is just a
Yes.
random slide of more photos.
Speaking of friends, we have some of our alumni from Zero 2025 cohort to speak a bit more about their experience at CityLab. First up, we have Jessica to speak about her experience in working on her project. Jessica, take it away.
Okay, so
That
I'll
might
start
be
with
it.
a quick intro to me. So I'm Jessica, and I did my undergrad at McMaster in environmental science, but I took a lot of courses focused on urban planning and like social sciences, so that's kind of where CityLAB fit into my degree. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the day-to-day of working on your project. So for a little bit of context, my project was about developing recommendations for the city to encourage students to use sustainable mobility. So like, how do we get students to walk and take the bike and take the bus to campus instead of drive, pretty much? So basically in the mornings is when we would have class with our instructors, and then around lunchtime, we we're kind of free to create our own schedule after that. So personally, my group, we would kind of have like a soft meeting during lunch, a lot more casual. We just kind of catch up, see where we're at, just chat, enjoy our lunch, don't get too stressed about getting stuff done too fast. And then around 1 o'clock, we would officially start our more formal meetings where we would kind of go through our project timeline, which is an assignment pretty early on that helps keep you on track throughout the semester. We would see what deliverables we had coming up in the next few days, make sure we had the tasks delegated to the right people in the group. We would also prepare for our champion meetings. So that's when we would meet with our project champions from the city. They would come once a week. So in order to prepare for those meetings, we would have meeting agendas and have a facilitator and note keeper just to make sure those meetings were as efficient as possible. And I think some people were a little intimidated by like working with real city staff. It can be a little scary at first, but honestly, like I think, our champions and most people's champions were like super nice and, very casual. Like it's not as scary as you think it is. They're super nice and helpful, and they always kept us on track. And if you had any questions, they were always available to help out. So they were really great. And overall, like the project is such a huge part of CityLab. It's pretty much like 50% of your time. So you put a lot of work into it. In the early parts of the semester, you maybe stay till like 3 o'clock-ish. And then later in the semester, like maybe 4, 5, couple nights 6 o'clock, when the deadlines are coming up quick. But it's pretty like flexible to your schedule for what your group needs. Um, yeah, overall, I'd say the project was super like fulfilling to get to see it through to the end. You get to build up to your dialogue event. You get to have a final report. And then personally, I had a lot of fun at the showcase, getting to show off all of our work to people in the city and my classmates. So overall, the project was such a highlight. And I will say, since the end of CityLab, I've talked about my project and my experience in CityLab in all of my grad school applications and all of my job interviews. So it's a really great thing to have to talk about.
Thank you,
Yay.
Jess. Thank you so much.
Uh, Mohlil, take it away.
Oh, that was so nice to hear from you, Jess. My name is Mohlil, everybody. I am going into my last and final year of political sciences with a minor in community engagement. So previously, before that, I have been doing a lot of like poli-sci courses. So I kind of wanted to do CityLab to kind of understand the municipal aspect of our city, what issues are going on, what are the current projects, and how can students really just get more involved in that. So right now, I want to touch a little bit more on the dialogue event. So for us, me and Alishba was also in this call. Our project was on gaps in unemployment in for youth in Hamilton. So we worked with Hamilton Youth and city partners to kind of just figure out what the barriers are. And uh, community dialogue event was something we were planning from the beginning to almost all towards the end, since we had two community dialogue events, but the main one was at Living Rock. Community dialogue event, for those who don't know, is a great way for you to go out into the community to ask the people. So for us, it was youth to see, what are the gaps in unemployment? Like, what are the issues that they're having, and what can we do to mitigate some of those issues, or to figure out some recommendations to present to the city. So we did it at the Living Rock, and it was just, honestly, I would say magical, because we were expecting, I could you out like 5 people, but about 30 to 40 people showed up, and it was very, very qualitative instead of quantitative. That's what I really liked about it too, was the research was very much one-on-one. most of our research wasn't like, oh, answer a yes or no, or this many people said this. It was more like you have a conversation with different people, you get to know about their story and their own personal experience into unemployment, and then making recommendations based on that. Um, so community dialogue events was a really key highlight of our project, but I would say overall it does teach you a lot of things. One was independence and project management that I really enjoyed, and as well as community engagement. We also got to do stakeholder management, what that looks like, talking to different community organizations, planning events, catering, planning what our poster's going to look like. You don't think about the little details, but when you really start to do the whole project, the community dialogue event, there's so many different pieces to it that come together. So yeah, I would say it was a really great experience. And for those of you who are here, I would really, really recommend doing CityLAB. This is the first journey to learning more about it. So you guys are on the right track, and good luck.
Now let's invite Uzma to share a bit about her passion project.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Uzma. I just finished my undergraduate degree in environmental studies and my certificate in urban planning. I also took the minor in community engagement and did a minor in sustainability. My passion project was doing little cards to connect people on the street to like the so many different social services that are available in the downtown core. I had friends that were volunteering for a lot of the social services and like clinics and different resources that were in the city that I had no idea were available just walking down the street. And so I said, we need to get this more like in people's faces, especially if you're walking down the street and you do need food, if you do need, like HIV treatment, if you need like any like preventative care or, like harm reduction services. That's really important, and there is a lot in like the downtown core to help with that. So I made posters saying like the service that was available. For the passion project, I chose to collaborate with this service called Out of the Cold, and every day of the winter for like from November to March, they provide like a hot meal in churches and like community centers all throughout Hamilton. And so there's like a schedule for every single day of the week that they have a different hot meal for like anybody who wants it. So I thought it was a really good opportunity to like highlight that and collaborate with them and take on like the great principles that we had been learning in class and, actually engage in the city. So then I posted those up with the walk time of like how far they were and made sure to put them in like central hubs where I knew like people that are in need might come across them. It was really rewarding to be able to like connect with the community that is so like committed to help with the city's like underprivileged. And yeah, it was really wonderful to build our relationship and put into work those concepts. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
Hi, I'm Alishba. You heard my name a couple of times from Joe and Mohlil. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my experience with CityLAB, but specifically more so on the fact of why I joined. So you probably have heard stories where it's like, or if you ever talk to some previous alumni, maybe a little bit older than us, on why they joined CityLAB, it's probably to get away from, like assignments and exams and midterms. And that was also what I did. That's because I feel like I really burned out in the academics. It was always like this routine of always just studying, not having a social life. Like I don't have a social life, guys. It was really bad. It was a lot of like midterms and exams, and I felt like I was also putting in a lot of work into my program that I was currently in, also that I absolutely despised. that's another thing. But I felt like there wasn't anything I was kind of getting back from it. So I did do a lot of research in earlier, but I felt like a lot of my work went sort of somewhere. Like there wasn't a lot of impact, and I felt like it just got shelved after I did complete it. So originally, before CityLab was actually something I was going to consider, I wanted to take a gap year because I was so burned out and I didn't know what I kind of wanted to do with my life at that point. But then CityLab sort of was something that previous alumni told me. So Rand was one of them. I want to honorably mention them. And Ramil, they both told me so much about CityLab, especially about their experiences of having not just like a work-life balance, but also being able to go and learn from the community, which is something that Joe had mentioned earlier, where it was no longer kind of learning from just like a set of slides and a professor in like academics, and then sort of just learning information for the sake of regurgitating it on a test. It was sort of learning skills and learning things from people that you wouldn't necessarily look at and think you could learn something from because you've been in such an academic bubble for so long, and being able to apply what you've learned not only in class but out in the community together and seeing like an actual positive step in change or something tangible at the end of it that could facilitate change in the future. um, and that really inspired me to go into CityLab, and also because I needed a social life and I needed to explore Hamilton, because I also am someone that actually lives in Hamilton. I realized that yeah, I'm actually kind of confined to the McMaster bubble and I don't ever actually leave it despite living here. So this was great. I got to learn my city after living here for like 5 years. So that's small
Yay,
detail,
cheers
personal
to you.
details. Exactly, small details that led me to joining CityLab. But the experience was great, and what Mohlil and the other alumni have talked about, like Jess and Uzma, um I can vouch for that. There is a lot of good friendships and skills and learning opportunities that come with it, and you also get to find yourself as a person in it. So that's all I have to contribute there.
Thank you so much for that. This is so wholesome. Alina, were you able to figure it out?
Thank you, everyone. It's lovely to be here. My name is Alina, and I am also one of the CityLab alumni. And I just wanted to talk to you all about my experience with the CityLab courses, so city building, dialogue, project management, and design. So in our city building class, we had instructor Randy, and we went on so many incredible field trips around Hamilton. We went to the waterfront, we went to Ottawa Street, and did some nice shopping around the antique mall. Um, and some of us even like had the opportunity to like help host different field trips as well. So I came up with the idea of like playing soccer and baseball out at the park. So we literally had a day where we were just having fun in the park, playing soccer, baseball, playing sports, and just like having a really fun time. And that's not really something that I had the opportunity to do in any of my other like university courses before City Labs. So it's a really unique opportunity to just like get to know each other and like have some fun outside with one another and explore Hamilton as well. Like before I took City Lab, I was mostly like just familiar with the area around campus and I hadn't ever really explored much farther. But taking City Lab really opened my eyes to like all the beauty in Hamilton, like from our like wonderful hike as well, and like so many different things. We explored all over Hamilton. Um, we also had some amazing guest speakers during city building as well. Like we had people from the Hamilton Police Services Board, and we talked about some of the issues there, which Randy is very passionate about as well. We had like a local MPP come in and speak to us about politics. We had a student trustee. We had a ward counselor. So we had a lot of diverse guest speakers with lots of different experiences in the city. Um, Beyond city building, we also had our dialogue course with Instructor Karina, where we learned about like the art of facilitating, leading groups, and also understanding kind of like our own biases and our own positionality as well, and our own privileges as we're interacting with other people. a lot of the projects that we engaged in CityLAB were with like underserved communities. So it's really important to know kind of where we stand, where our own privileges are, even those that we might not realize as we're interacting with others and facilitating like the dialogue events for our respective projects. And that kind of leads into the project management course, which is by Instructor Rachel. In that course, we learned a lot about how can we work together effectively as a team to actually like lead our project to completion. So that's where we learned about things like how important it is to create an agenda for our meetings, checking in with each other as group members, and like lots of different milestones were built into that course to help us stay prepared for like our big CityLAB projects that we were working on. So the projects, they might seem like in the beginning, it might like some of us might think that like, wow, like this is such a huge thing that we're trying to accomplish. But with the project management course, like we really broke it down into small manageable steps. And then by the end of CityLAB, we really saw how far we had come, and all the milestones that were like built in for us made it just so easy to do such a great job. And then in our design thinking class by instructor Liz, we learned so much about like the design process. And some of the steps which really stood out to me were the empathy step and the prototype step. So what the empathy step from design thinking means is that when you're designing something or like a solution for the community or a service, a product, you really have to empathize with the user and understand where they're coming from. Like if we're trying to design a solution for someone and we don't even understand where they're coming from, then that solution isn't really going to meet their needs very well. So we have to empathize with them, really try to think about their perspective. What are their feelings? Where are they coming from? And also the prototype stage, that stage is all about how we need to actually test our solutions before we bring them into the real world. And there's all kinds of methods that we learned for that, which like many of us used in our dialogue events as well. But just like the importance of like if you have a solution, you want it to be the best you can be, and it's important to test it first before you actually bring it out into the real world. That's like a little snapshot of like some things which stood out to me from all 4 courses. I remember like in the last day of CityLAB, I was really reading about all of them. There's like so much to say about each and every one, but it was just such a lovely experience, and I wish I can go back. There's so much that we learned from each of them.
Yes, yes, of course. Thank you for all of that, Alina. It was very sweet of you. Brandy, you want to jump back in?
Yes, sure. What did you want me to talk about? Sorry.
Some tips for application.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes. So, and I think that was a question in the chat, and it was a question last year too. And so I reviewed last year's webinar, and the way it was answered that year, I would sort of maybe start with that and then tweak it a little bit. Because last year it was recommended, like look at the principles of community engagement and sort of maybe incorporate that into your answer. But I would encourage you to really make sure you put yourself in the center of what you write, because everyone is different. Everyone's got a different background. Everyone's got a different experience that got them to this point. And that uniqueness that you bring is super important to highlight. But because we want like a diverse team with diverse backgrounds and experiences, because we want those interdisciplinary teams to be built on your skills and your interests. So I would say, don't try to, you don't need to use big fancy words or anything. Just talk real about who you are and why you want to be part of this. And yeah, I think that's I think the primary thing I would say. And it sounds easy to say, but how do I express who I am in a 500 word thing? But you can do it, and I think I also would say that don't stress too much about it. Like again, everyone's on a different part of their journey or different, we all have those different experiences. Some people will have a ton of maybe volunteer experiences, and some people might not. And there's good reasons why some people might and might not, right? So there's other demands on our time. Not everyone has the time and to volunteer a lot when they have other responsibilities elsewhere, work, family, all that. So don't let that deter you. Like everyone, like there's going to be a wide range of difference, and I think we'll just be looking to see, you know, to see you in the application. Does that help?
Yes,
Yes.
Randy, that's good. I don't know if Mo and I have any other, Mo, do you have any other tips? I feel like Randy kind of covered it. What do
Yes, I
you?
think Randy covered most of it. When I was thinking about the question, the one word that came to my mind is to be honest about yourself, why you want to join CityLAB, and being very real with yourself about it is one way to get in. Yes.
The same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. We can move on.
Okay, thank you, Randy. So now we'll officially move on to the Q&A session. We did see a couple of questions, but please feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand and unmute yourself. If you want to have a conversation, we're up for that too. I think we got a question from Maham. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but we accept around 30 students per term. We want it to be a smaller cohort so that you can make a lot of deeper connections with your peers. So I think that answers that question. We had one more question on the Q&A polls. We have one from Andrea. How many people are usually in the cohort? Yes, again, 30 people. We have one from Lauren. Do you have any tips? Okay, we answered that too. Never mind, I'm reading the same thing again.
There's one in the chat as well. How many? Oh, I think it's the same thing. How many students are accepted into the program? Randy, is there a particular number? Do you remember specifically how many people were in our cohort? Because I can't remember the exact number.
So this is always a challenge every year because we cap the cohort at 30, but when we accept you from your application, we'll let you know, like we'll be reviewing them a couple days after their due date and then letting you know as soon as possible. So it'll be like days, not weeks, before you'll hear back about your acceptance to the semester residence. But we have about a 65 to 70% attrition rate from people that are accepted to actually enrolling, right? So we do accept more than 30 off the bat because we know from experience over the years that not everyone will make it. So I think one of the key things I think that can avoid trouble in that regard is if you haven't already talked to your academic advisor, go in and make sure that you can fit this into your program and that and it fits with your needs and that you're allowed to do it, right? Some students overload. That's not recommended. Some people do really well at it and some people struggle with it. Don't book your times when they're the work sessions during the week for CityLAB because being there is I think really important for all of those good reasons that we heard about, building that community, working on those projects, getting the deliverables, and just having that great city semester residence experience. Maybe I'll stop there.
Okay, thanks, Randy. I was gonna piggyback off of what Randy was saying. Just apply, like don't worry about not being accepted. Honestly, just apply. As Randy said earlier as well, and Mo said, like, be honest in your application. Like, just say why you want to join CityLAB. If you're genuinely attracted to this, if you just want something new. I think a lot of our CityLAB alumni, the reason we took CityLAB is because we did want something different from regular academics. And CityLAB, we're telling you, like, we are proof of that. CityLAB truly is very, very different from school, but at the same time, it's a good different. You may be, I think in our conversation when we were planning this, we had mentioned, or Randy rather had mentioned, another student might have talked about something like the challenges that may come with shifting to something that's different from regular, midterms, lectures, exams. Like, what's coming. With CityLAB, you will know what's coming, but it's not so predictable and it's not so, I think, daunting. You don't have a test to study for that determines like 60% of your grade. There's no big thing that's like you're on your own and you have to do this. I think one small challenge is that, you're in every day, for classes. You don't have to be there every day, even if you need to be at your class. We all don't always go to our classes. But CityLAB, you do have to be there just because that's how you build community. That's how you get to connect with your group members and work on your project diligently. And honestly, once you get into the rhythm, it's really great. We had a lot of alumni who weren't used to getting, including myself, wasn't used to getting up, to get downtown 9:30 every morning. But once I got into the rhythm, I really saw the beauty in it. I was just waking up naturally at 8 o'clock. So I was like, yes, good sleep schedule. You go to bed on time to get up on time. And because you don't have a test or a lecture or a midterm to worry about, you don't have to be pulling all-nighters to study. It's whatever you've worked on at CityLAB, it stays at CityLAB, and you get to go home, or you get to go volunteer, or you get to go to work. You don't have to worry about the daunting, oh my gosh, I have more stuff to do until the next day when you get it back into CityLAB. You have to do all of that. That was a long-winded thing. It's because I'm waiting for people to send more questions. But just some thoughts to give you guys. I think there's more stuff in the Q&A and in the chat, Mo. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from Shahid. Like, how are the topics distributed across students, groups? So as I mentioned earlier in the semester, City Partners, usually we have 5 projects per term, which would mean around 5 to 6 people per group. Am I doing the math right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of the semester, they come in, they pitch their projects, and you get to rank your favorite one. So you're not working on random projects. You're actually working on a project that you really wanted to contribute to.
Just there's a forum. You hear all of the oh Lord, the city partners come in to pitch their projects that they need help on, and then you basically rank the ones that you want. Yeah. Yeah. And then most people, I believe, get their first choice. I got my second choice, and I'm really happy actually I got my second choice because I loved it. I will say it, I will boast about my group all the time because I genuinely think we had one of the best groups ever. We had a great city partner. Yeah, so don't even be discouraged if you get your second choice or even your third choice. The projects are amazing, and at the end of the day, it's the people you're working with. And if you guys can work together, like to execute your project, you're set, honestly. So, yeah, don't be sad if you don't get your first choice. But I believe most people got their first choice. I think I'm myself and maybe one other person were the only ones that got their second choice. Okay.
I
Yeah.
know there are a couple questions about timings and schedule. So in our cohort, so it's not the same every year. As I said, instructors might change it based on student accommodations and needs. But in our term, we usually had 9 to 12 sessions. Every day except for Wednesday, we had a 9 to 4 session. So after 12, the building is open for you to stay and work in, but you're not marked for participation for that period, but you are marked for participation in the morning sessions. For example, when you have Monday dialogue sessions, you get participation for the dialogue session. And after 12 in the afternoon, it's just work sessions. So it's for you to interact with your team members or any assignments or work that you have. So you're not marked for participation during that time. So it's not 9 to 5 technically every day, but then we made it that way that by the end of classes, you are done with all the work for your day, and then you have the rest of your evenings to either work or deal with other extracurriculars and stuff. Does anyone want to add anything to it?
I think Maham is also asking, what if we have classes during those timings? How did you guys balance classes with CityLab, or were you only enrolled in CityLab courses? So for in terms of because CityLab is the thing saying 5 minutes left, don't worry, it's not gonna kick you out. I will say we do have 5 minutes, but if you still have questions, and you're able to stay on, Mo and I and Randy and any other alumni, if they'd like to be here, will be on. So if you're able to stay and you have more questions, by all means stay. We will not be kicking you out at 8 p.m. But yeah, just to answer your question, we would recommend, honestly, as Randy said, people do overload, but typically I would assume that you overload with a course that's happening maybe after City Lab, after or regular 9 to 12 class times, just because you do need to be in person for those couple hours. I do know that if anything does conflict at a specific time, that you can speak to the instructors. They are pretty flexible on catching you up on things. Um, I don't know if Randy, do you want to like hit on that from like an instructor point of view? But for students, I would encourage you maybe take a class that doesn't happen between those 9 to 12s. City Lab is generally you know, centered around being a 15-unit course so that you don't have to take anything
Yeah.
else. It really is supposed to be that you only have to do City Lab and you are set for the semester. So if you don't have to, we would, and if you don't have to, we wouldn't recommend taking a course. You can overload. One of my teammates overloaded with another course, but his sessions, it was either online or it was after or 9 to 12 City Lab hours.
Yeah.
Maham
As it
has
from
their hand
Oh, sorry. I just want to
Yeah.
finish off that thought. From an instructor point of view, we don't want you missing class for another class because it is a full-time commitment to the course and to your, peers and to your project partners and everything. So you will miss out. But if there are extenuating circumstances, yes, you can talk to the impacted instructor if it's there. I would say, like, Friday, I think this week that we're looking at here, that's from a couple years, or was that from last year? Yeah, it was from last year.
Last
I
year.
think it's last year. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Us.
I think like Faye, I think my city building will probably be Wednesday morning, but the instructors have to still sit down and sort of parcel out. So ideally we have instruction across the days of the week. And I think if you're gonna do anything, maybe Friday afternoons are the ones that will probably be most flexible in terms of, like, we're not gonna book a lot of stuff on Friday afternoon. You can get away early, but don't take that as a blanket statement right now, but we do try to accommodate folks. So really give it some thought about when that class might be and how you might be able to manage it. If it's just during the lunch hour, if it's online or something, so we can talk more about that in offline potentially if that becomes an issue.
Okay, thanks, Randy. Maham, do you want to come off, what do you call it?
Yeah, of
Mic?
course. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
great.
Thank you guys so much
No
for
problem.
answering all my questions with so much detail. I guess another
Sure.
question that I had was, is this something that's offered like every year? Just because I have some required fourth year courses that I have to take, but I was just curious if this is something that you guys continue, perhaps like if I want to take a fifth year or anything. Or perhaps if you guys know if the Community Yenga, I think 4B06 or Inspire 4B06 will be running next year. Like I was trying to enroll in this year, but it was not open. So I was just a little sad to see that. But I'd love to be involved with this project and get that hands-on experience. So I was just curious if you guys knew anything about that. And thank you so much for answering all my questions.
Of course, no
course.
problem. Randy, do you want to
Yes.
take that?
So I don't think 4B06 is not offered this year. I don't know. I guess it'll be offered in intersession next year. It's a new course and it was offered as sort of like an alternative to CityLab. It's not really an alternative to CityLab in a way. So they're still sort of working out that part of it. But so the semester residence is every fall term right now. And so that's your only option for the semester of residence. I feel like I forgot what the point of the question was.
So
So
it
That
does run
that's what it
every
was.
year. every year
Yeah.
in the fall.
Yeah. So you can take it in fifth year. We had a couple of fifth years this year for
Yeah, and
sure. Last year.
that's what it was. Yeah, and so looking at over the years of semester residence, when I started in 2019, I think it was the 2018 version. Really, we get a lot of fifth year. Like we get more fifth year than maybe like third year. We want all of them because it's also a good mentoring within the program, you know, with different kind of experiences there. But surprisingly, we do get a lot of fifth year. I think that's how, because one of the questions we have is like some faculties make it easier to get to fit the 15 units into your program, and some I'm not so sure about. Like I don't know how necessarily you fit it in. We've had engineering students, we've had like students from every faculty, and I'm not always clear like exactly how they do it. Some can do a thesis, right? So if anyone I think we need to develop that more so it's make a clear pathway for everyone from different faculties. But yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of that, like just piggybacking off what Randy ended with, it's dependent on the faculties. Honestly, for me, I ended it in my fourth year. Great way to end fourth year as well, by the way. And it counted as my capstone course. And then also we had Alishba and Alina who were doing a thesis. So they were also able, again, depends on your supervisor. Their supervisors were pretty flexible with it. But they were also able to, technically, if they didn't do a thesis, they would still have like their capstone course done, because CityLAB is embedded into our or advising. So like if you're actually sometimes like they might not even know. So you can also like check, depending on what faculty you're in, definitely check what that thing says under fourth year to see if this can count as your capstone course. Because even if you are in third year and you decide to do it, it can go towards that fourth year requirement. And so you get to take other things in fourth year. So, or even if you don't know if you want to do a thesis in fourth year, use this because again, it is kind of thesis based. You do research, but it honestly, it really is fulfilling. It's very different. We had another person who had done a thesis beforehand, and done CityLAB, and they wildly preferred CityLAB. They just thought it was just such a different experience. And so because it was different, it was so good. But yeah, and I love that our alumni are in the chat, like they're answering as well. And thank you guys for doing that. Really appreciate that. But yeah, are there any other questions?
Yeah, so I think, you know, I also like think about the issues. I'm going back to that question about your application. If there's an issue that you think is important in the city that you want, and I think some of the early people that have applied, I've been peeking at their applications as they come in, are doing that. Don't force it. Like, because sometimes I think in the question and answer section here, there's like the passion project question is good. Some people will they'll come in with something and they like, oh, I want to do this, right? But then some people don't have that idea. And I think Jessica, I think in the comments there, yeah, there's a lot of discussions in all the different sections and all the field trips and all the guests and everything. And there's always, we do like news, we read the local news and present on that to see what's interesting to different people and why is that interesting to you? And is there something in that issue, a local issue that you read about that you could take action on, right? And so we talk about starting where you are and then, you know, not trying to solve the whole thing all at once, but taking those first steps, right? And I think in design thinking and in sort of the way I talk in city building, sometimes it's prototyping. It's like, doesn't have to be perfect, just get started. It might not work perfectly the first time, but you'll learn from that and grow. And so we're all in that learning environment. We're all there to support each other and to help each other sort of develop this. And we get such an interesting, like every student comes up with some really interesting ideas and do like amazing projects. And it's a really fun part of the year. And I think we're always like tweaking it in the back end, like the instructors, when we meet, we're like, you know, we take feedback from an anonymous survey at the end of the term. We get good feedback from students, and I really take it seriously and say, okay, there's a weakness maybe over here. Maybe we could change something about that or build this into a better, make it better. So that's our goal. And it's a partnership. I think the relationships between the instructors and the students, because it's a small cohort, because there's 4 instructors and say 30 students, that we really get to know each other and understand like how we can all help each other. So I think that's the sort of, we really want it to be a culture where you can take risks and feel free to make mistakes and learn from them. So that's a core goal in at least in I think in the way I think about this semester. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Randy. Do we have any other questions, comments?
Alishba's comment. Learning from your mistakes is the biggest one. Yes, very, very important. Um, you have time. See, that's the thing with the course being for 4 months. It's not just I guess other courses are also for 4 months, but it's like it's one extended thing for the 4 months. You're not looking at a bunch of different things. So you get to try things. So as Brandy said, you get to prototype. And then if that doesn't work, you're like, all right, try the next idea. And so you have room like to grow and to change. And so um yeah, you just have room, honestly. Everything's not like, okay, this chunk and then this chunk and this chunk. No, it's everything's building. You're building. And so that's really great. And at the end of it, you get such an amazing result, which is our showcase. And so the showcase and just the work that you do and the connections that you've made. And you leave feeling good, not dreading, oh my gosh, what's my grade gonna be? Like you feel good at the end of it. Um, yeah, and then also typing. Alina's also typing. That's a lot. Okay. Room for trial and error, which you often don't see in a regular academic environment. Feels great to not keep chasing perfection. Yeah. And then Mohlil was saying it's easier to make mistakes in CityLAB because of the feedback and the prototyping compared to other classes. Yeah, you get a lot of feedback from the instructors as well as your city partner. They're there to guide you along the way, right? You're not just, they don't just pitch you a project and leave you. You meet with them regularly, like, I mean, every week regularly. And you might not have something for them every week. That's fine. You would have talked to them about what you're expecting to have done because they know you're human. And so they don't expect you to have something due by, the next meeting. That's not how it works. And yeah, you talk with them and then you ask them if something's working, if this makes sense, if it doesn't make sense. Your dialogue event, they help you plan that as well. Um, yeah, the meetings that you may have with other stakeholders, literally every step of the way, they are there. If there are no other questions, we'll just close off. Mo, you want to close this off?
Yes, thank you so much for your time. I hope this webinar gave you some more info into what CityLab series is about. We're always reachable through Instagram DMs or through email. You can text us, email us with any questions that you have before next Monday, May 18th. Yeah, apply. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Tell your
giving us your
friends to
time.
apply.
Yes.
Thank you both for putting
No
this together.
problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Tell your friends to apply too. My friend told me to apply, and that's why I'm here. Alishba told me. So, yeah. Look how far we've come by listening to my friend.
That sounds
Okay,
good.
no problem. Have a great night, everyone.
Well,
Thank you for
thanks
joining
to all the
us.
alumni too. It's so nice to
Thank you.
see you and
Yes,
hear from you
Jess,
again. Yeah, it's
Alishba,
great.
Uzma, Alina, Mohlil. Thank you guys so
Bye.
much.